Good morning, guys. It's your boy Rich here. Today in this video, I am going to be doing something a little bit different today. Today in this video, I'm gonna be talking to you guys about one of the greatest all-time race cars of all time, basically. Um, Today in this video, I'll be talking to you guys about one of the best race cars in the whole world. Basically, this car has done one of the greatest races of all time, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, or Le Mans. That's how you say it in French. Today in this video, I'll be talking to you guys about one of the greatest and craziest race cars of all time, and it's the Porsche 917, or to put it in in a sentence, the Porsche 917. Well, not in a sentence, but say it like a proper way. So today I'll be talking to you guys about the Porsche 917. Say the 917 or 917. So before I start, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit that notification bell, and hit all so you're alerted when I make new uploads. and so without any further ado, let's get started. And so this is like one of the first cars I've ever put down on the list of the cars I wanted to do. And I've been dying for such a long time. I'm talking days, weeks, months to talk about this special vehicle. And now I finally have got the chance to do so. So that's the car I'm talking about. So today I'll talk about the Porsche 917. So before I start, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you're alerted when I make new uploads. Alright, so without any further ado, let's get straight down to business. Alright, here we go. So the Porsche 917. Here we go. The Porsche 917. So the Porsche 917 is a sports prototype race car developed. The Porsche 917 is a sports prototype race car developed by German manufacturer Porsche to exploit the regulations regarding the construction of 5-liter sports cars, powered by a Type 912, or Type 912 flat 12 engine. So it's basically like two flat sixes welded together to create a flat 12 engine. So powered by a Type 912 flat 12 engine, naturally aspirated. So powered by a naturally aspirated Type 912 flat 12 engine. So powered by a I keep forgetting where I am. So powered by a Type 912 flat 12 engine, which was progressively enlarged from 4.5 to 5 liters. The 917 was introduced in 1969. So in 1969, and initially proved unwieldy. How do you even say this word? I can't really say it. Unwieldy? Wait, hold on.
Unwieldy. Unwieldy.
Unwieldy. So, powered by a Type 912 flat 12 engine, which was progressively enlarged from 4.5 to 5 liters. 4.5 to 5 liters. So from 4.5 to 5 liters. The 917 was introduced in 1969 and initially powered unwieldy on the racetrack, but continuous developments improved the handling, and it went on to dominate sports car racing in 1970 and 1971. In 1970, it gave Porsche its first overall win in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, a feat it would repeat in 1971. It would be chiefly responsible for Porsche winning the international championship for makes in 1970 and 1971. Porsche went on to develop the 917 for Can-Am Racing. So Can-Am is a Canadian American Challenge Cup. So for Can-Am Racing, culminating in the twin turbocharged 917/30, which was even more dominant in the role. Porsche drivers would win the Can-Am Championship in 1972 and 1973. So both 1972 and 1973. 917 drivers also win the Interserie Championship every year from 1969 to 1975. This is a difference in those 6 years. So now we got overview as usual. The manufacturer is by Porsche AG. Production was from 1969 to 1970. For the 917 version, they built 25 of those cars. 1969, 1970, 917, 25 built. And in 1970 to 1971, they built 12 of the 917Ks. So if I add those two together, got a total of 37 of the 917s built altogether from 1969 all the way up until 1971. So a total like 37 were built if you add them two together. Its assembly is in Stuttgart-Zuffenhausen. So Stuttgart-Zuffenhausen in West Germany. In West Germany, the designer is Helmut Bott, who's the chassis designer, and Hans Mesger, who's the engine designer. Next up is body and chassis. So the class is a race car, body style two-door coupe or coupe. Layout is rear mid-engine, rear-wheel drive. Body and chassis. Class is a race car, body style two-door coupe. The layout is rear mid-engine and rear-wheel drive. The platform is the Porsche 908. The doors are dihedral doors. It's related to the 917K, 917PA. So it's related to the different types of the 917s. For Porsche, it's related to the 917K, 917PA, 917L, 917LH, 917 Interserie Spider, 917 slash, so 917/10, 917/20, and 917/30. So there's like 8 different versions of the 917. Powertrain. Next up is engine. There's 3 types of the Type 912 flat 12 engine. There's a 4.5, 4.9, and a 5-liter Type 912 flat 12 engine. Transmission is either a 4-speed or a 5-speed manual. It's a 4-speed manual or a 5-speed manual. You can even get one with a 6-speed even if you want to, because I don't think Porsche even made it with a 6-speed. I don't know. Next up is dimensions. The wheelbase is 2,300 millimeters. Dimensions, wheelbase 2,300 millimeters. 90.6 inches. Says wheelbase. Length 4,780 millimeters. 188.2, so 188.2 inches. And then we got 4,120 millimeters, 162.2 inches. So that's for the 917K. Width 2,033 millimeters, approximately 80 inches. And then 1,980 millimeters, that's 78 inches for the 917K. Now the height is 920 millimeters, 36.2 inches. And then we got 940 millimeters, 37 inches approximately for the 917K. Curb weight is 820 kilos. It's pretty good. It's like 1,808 pounds. That's pretty good. Under a ton. That's not bad. It's really good actually. That's like hot hatchback territory. Because like the hatchbacks from like the 70s and 80s, they would weigh less than less than a ton really. I don't know, but somewhere around there. Next up is less than 2,000 pounds really. Next up is chronology. Its predecessor is the Porsche 907. So predecessor, Porsche. So we're on chronology. Predecessor is the Porsche 97. So, hold on. So the chronology is next. Predecessor Porsche 907, or the 907, I would say. So that's the predecessor, the Porsche 907, and the successor is the Porsche 936. Next up is origins of the 917. In an effort to reduce the speeds at Le Mans and other fast circuits of the unlimited capacity Group 6 prototypes, unlimited capacity Group 6 prototypes, such as the 7-liter Ford GT40 Mark IV and the 4-liter V12 Ferrari P. The Commission Sportive Internationale, then the independent competition arm of the FIA, announced that the International Championship of Makes would be run for 3-liter Group 6 prototypes for 4 years from 1968 through 1971. This capacity reduction would also serve to entice manufacturers who are already building 3-liter F1 engines to adapt them for endurance racing. Well aware that few manufacturers were ready to take up the challenge immediately, the CSI also allowed the participation of 5-liter Group 4 sports cars, of which a minimum of 50 units had to be manufactured. This targeted existing cars like the aging Ford GT40 Mark I and the newer Lola T70, which is a sports prototype British race car with an American V8, which is pretty cool. So the Lola T70 Coupe or Coupe. In April 1968, facing few entrants in races, the CSI announced that the minimum production figure to compete in the sports category of the International Championship of Makes, later the World Sports Car Championship, was reduced from 50 to 25. Starting in 1969, through the planned end of the rules in 1971, so it was reduced from 50 to 25 starting in 1969 through the planned end of the rules in 1971. And that was the year the Mustang Mach 1 was out in 1971. With Ferrari absent in 1968, mainly Porsche 908s and Ford P68s were entered there, with the Ford being a total failure. As a result, old 2.2-liter Porsche 907s often won the category, with John Wyers, a 4.7-liter Ford GT40 Mark I, taking wins at faster tracks. Starting in July 1968, Porsche made a surprising and expensive effort to take advantage of this rule, as they were rebuilding race cars with new chassis every race or two anyway. Selling the used cars to customers, they decided to conceive, design, and build 25 versions of a whole new car with 4.5 liters for the sports category, with one underlying goal: to win its first overall victory in the 24 Hours of Le Mans on June 14th, 1970. In only 10 months, so less than a year, The Porsche 917 was developed based on the Porsche 908. When Porsche was first visited When Porsche was first visited by the CSI inspectors, only 3 cars were completed, while 18 were being assembled and 7 additional set of parts were present. Porsche argued that if they assembled Porsche argued that if they assembled the cars, they would then have to take them apart again to prepare the cars for racing. The inspectors refused the homologation and asked to see 25 assembled and working cars. On the 12th of March 1969, a 917 was displayed at the Geneva Motor Show in Switzerland, because that's where it mainly takes place, painted white with a green nose and a black number 917. Brief literature on the car detailed a cash price of $140,000 which hold on, so that's also current Deutschmarks. So 140,000 Deutschmarks, which is like a currency in Germany. Well, mainly the currency is euro. So approximately 16,000 quid at period exchange rates. So period exchange rates, or the price of about 10 Porsche 911s. So I'll say like the older ones, I'd say. This price didn't cover the cost of development. On April 20th, Porsche's head of motorsports, Ferdinand Piech, displayed 25 917s parked in front of the Porsche factory to the CSI inspectors. Piech even even offered the opportunity to drive any of the cars, which was declined. Next up is construction. So we've done origins of the 917, now we're on construction. The car's chassis was designed by Helmuth Bott and the engine was designed by Hans Mesger, both under the leadership of Ferdinand Piech. The car was built around a very light space frame chassis, which is like 42 kilos, 93 pounds, which was permanently pressurized with gas to detect cracks in the welded structure. Power came from a new 4.5 liter air-cooled engine designed by Mesger. A completely new flat 12 engine block was designed without the cylinder offset needed by a boxer designed to keep the engine compact. The Type 12 engine featured a 180-degree flat 12-cylinder layout with 6 crank throws, which is each Conrad journal shared by opposing piston pair. As opposed, the 12 on the Boxer twin overhead camshafts, gear-driven from centrally mounted gears and twin spark plugs, fed from 2 distributors. The large horizontally mounted cooling fan was also driven from centrally mounted gears. The longitudinally mounted Type 920 gearbox was designed to take a set of 4 or 5 gears. Can't even do 6 speeds. Disappointing. To keep the car compact, despite the large engine, the driving position was so far forward that the feet of the driver were beyond the front wheel axle. The car had remarkable technology. It used many components made of titanium, magnesium, and exotic alloys that had been developed from lightweight Berg Spider hill climb racers. Other methods of weight reduction were rather simple, such as making the gear shift knob out of birch wood. Some methods were not simple, such as using the tubular frame itself as oil piping to the front oil cooler, a design used successfully by Lotus beginning the Lotus 22 on 1962. There are at least 11 variants of the 917. The original version had a removable long tail slash medium tail with active rear wing flaps, but has had considerable handling problems at high speeds because of the significant rear lift. The handling problems were investigated at a joint test at the at the Österreich Ring, which is known as the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg in Styria in Austria, which is a racetrack there. It's basically an Austrian circuit. It's the Red Bull Ring. By the factory engineers and their new race team partners, JW Automotive. After exhaustive experimentation by both groups, a shorter, more upswept tail was found to give the car more aerodynamic stability at speed. The changes were quickly adopted into the 917 from Kurshek? Kurshek? I can't pronounce it, but it's spelled Kurzheck, or short tail. I think that's either German or Austrian. I don't really know, like, which is which, but I don't know. So let's change JW. After exhaustive experimentation by both groups, a shorter, more upswept tail was found to give the car more aerodynamic stability at speed. The changes were quickly adopted into 917 for Kurzheck, or short tail. In 1971, a variant of the 917K appeared with a less upswept tail and vertical fins, and featured the concave rear deck that had proved so effective on the 1970 versions of the 917L. The fins kept the clean downforce, including air on the top of the tail, and allowed the angle of the deck to be reduced, reducing the drag in a direct proportion. The result was a more attractive looking car that maintained downforce for less drag and higher top speed. By this time, the original 4.5 liter engine, which had produced around 520 horsepower in 1969, had been enlarged through 4.9, which is like 600 horsepower. So 4.9, 600 horsepower to 5 liters. I think every 0.1 liter is like 30 horsepower, so I don't really know, but I think it is. I'm not really sure, but say 4.9 liters, 600 horsepower to 5 liters, so 5 liters, and produced a maximum of 630 horsepower. So I think every point, like a tenth of, like 0.1 liters is around 30 horsepower for each. I'm not really sure, but I think it is. So a maximum of 630 horsepower. The 917K models were generally used for the shorter race courses such as Spielberg, Brands Hatch, Monza, and Spa-Francorchamps. The big prize for Porsche, however, was Le Mans. For the French circuit's long, high-speed straights, the factory developed special long-tail bodywork that was designed for minimum drag and thus highest maximum speed. On the car's debut in 1969, the 917L proved to be nearly uncontrollable as there was so little downforce. In fact, they generated aerodynamic lift at the highest speeds. For 1970, an improved version was raced by the factory. And for 1971, after very significant development in the wind tunnel, the definitive 917L was raced by both factory and JW. In 1969, Joe Siffert raced an open-top 917 PA Spider, which is naturally aspirated, so no turbos, nothing at all, so just naturally aspirated. In the 1969 Can-Am series, which is Canadian American series, there is also the Pink Pig aerodynamic research version 917/20, and the turbocharged 917/10 and 917/30 Can-Am Spiders. Porsche 917s also raced in the European Inter Series in various configurations. In the 1973 Can-Am series, the turbocharged version Porsche 917/30 developed 1100 horsepower. So that's 1100 horsepower. Not bad. It's pretty good. That's Bugatti Veyron territory roughly, or Hennessy Hennessy Venom territory. But I believe that one makes 1200 horsepower roughly. Same as the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport. I don't know. Anyways, now we're on variants. There are a number of versions of Porsche 917s made over the years. At least 11. So we're on variants. There are a number of versions of the Porsche 917s made over the years. At least 11 different versions have existed. Now we've got the 1969 917, so the original one. The original Porsche 917 was first run at the Le Mans test in March 1969 and right from the start showed considerable handling problems due to aerodynamic lift. The original specification of the car included a detachable long tail Langheck that was designed using experience from the previous 907 long tail cubes for minimum aerodynamic drag with suspension controlled moving flaps on the tail. At Le Mans, the CSI balked at this. Moving aerodynamic aids have been banned in motorsports. It was only when Rolf Stommelen, who is a German race car driver, who participated in 63 F1 World Championship Grand Prix, achieving 1 podium and scored a total of 14 championship points. He also participated in several non-championship F1 races. It was only when Rolf Stollmillen, there we go, demonstrated how undrivable the car was without the moving flaps that they relented and allowed them for Le Mans only. Throughout 1969, the car's speed was countered by the handling issues, and it won only one race, the Zeltweg 1000 kilometer. Following that event, JW Automotive, who would be acting as a semi-works team in 1970, requested a test session with Porsche to try and sort out the car's problems. Now we got the 1969 917 PA. The 917 PA was an open-topped and short-tailed version of the original 917 and was built to compete in Can-Am racing. Only 2 cars were built by Porsche. The first never raced and later became a test mule for an experimental flat 16 engine. Not like in a configuration 16-cylinder layout as a Bugatti Veyron. So it's a flat 16. Don't really know what that would sound like. Similar to a Bugatti engine. I don't know. The second car was entered in the 1969 Can-Am season by Porsche Audi, the North American distributors for Porsche, hence the PA designation, and driven by Joe Siffert compared to the dominant McLarens. The car was underpowered and overweight. Siffert's best result was third at Bridgehampton, which is a race circuit located near Sag Harbor in New York. And he finished 4th in the championship. For 1971, the car was obtained by Vasek Polak, who was a prominent car dealer, race car driver, car collector, and race team owner from Prague in the Czech Republic, who ran it for the next 3 years, with the car gaining ever more aerodynamic aids until by 1973 it resembled the 917/10 variant. So until by 1973 it resembled the 917/10 variant. The design of the 917 PA's gently upswept tail was one of the contributors to the search for better handling of the 917 coupes, resulting in the 917K variant. Speaking of the 917K, we've got the 1970. It's a 1970 917K. And the next one is a little bit crazier. The 917K was an evolution of the original 1969 car. After the first 917s were run in 1969, it was clear that car aerodynamics made it nearly undrivable at higher speeds. After the 1969 championship season had finished, John Wyer requested a 3-day test season at the Austrian Österreichring course. The Porsche technical team turned out ready to do some serious panel work on the coupe, and in order to make a comparison, brought along the Can-Am 917 PA Spider. The drivers present instantly preferred the PA, and together the JW Automotive and Porsche engineers came up with the idea of a more upswept tail as on the 917 PA. The JW team had similar high-speed handling issues with the early Ford GT40 models with gaffer tape and aluminum or aluminium sheets. A completely new short tail was involved at the racetrack. This was quickly converted into a production design back at Porsche and the 917 Kursheck. So 917K Kursheck made its public debut at the season opening 1970 24 Hours of Daytona. So 1970 24 Hours of Daytona. Such was the improvement in the stability of the car at high speed. The 917K became the standard configuration for all races except Le Mans, the Nürburgring Nordschleife 1000 kilometers, and the Targa Florio. This car was raced at every event by JW Automotive and Porsche Salzburg in the 1970 season, except the Targa Florio and the Nürburgring Nordschleife 1000 kilometers. The smaller, more nimble, and generally better suited 908/03s were used for those races, but privateers used the 917K and the Nürburgring Nordschleife 1000 kilometers, and Vic Elford, who's a British sports car rallying and F1 driver, drove a lap of the 44-mile Targa Florio course in the 917K at Ferdinand Piech's request. The 917K won 70%, well 7 out of 10, well 70% of the races. All the races it really competed in. Later on in the 1970 season, the 4.5 liter flat 12 was bored out to 4.9, then 5 liters. Now we're on the 1970 917L. This long-tail, low-drag version of the 1969 917L was purpose-built for the 1970 24 Hours of Le Mans. Le Mans in 1970 was almost entirely made up of long straights, and this version was designed to maximize the speed capability resulting from the increased power developed by the flat 12 engine over the previous Porsche types. The 1970 917L was largely based on the initial 1969 car. Nevertheless, factory driver Vic Elford had found the car's ultimate speed and advantage enough over its still questionable handling in both the braking and cornering sections of Le Mans. It was 25 miles an hour faster down the straights than the 917K and the Ferrari 512Ss. Two were entered in the 1970 Le Mans race, one by Porsche Salzburg and the other one by Martini Racing. The Porsche Salzburg 917L was qualified in pole position by Elford, but retired with engine failure after 18 hours. So it's 3/4 of a day, really, 75% of the day. say the say two were entered in the 1970 Le Mans race, one by Porsche Salzburg and the other by Martini Racing. Martini Racing. The Porsche Salzburg 917L was qualified in pole position by Elford but retired with engine failure after 18 hours, and the Martini 917 finished second, 5 laps behind the winning Salzburg 917K of Hans Hermann and Richard Atwood. So pretty much they did like these kind of Martini Porsches. Like I think Martini is like named after some drink or whiskey. I kind of forgot what it was, but I think it was like a drink. Like I've seen in videos like in like the past, like early 2000, like late 2000, somewhere around there. When I was growing up, I've seen videos of like at Porsche, like for Porsche cars on racetracks, they had like Martini liveries. Yeah, some Porsches these days would have like Martini liveries. So the Porsche Salzburg 917L was qualified in pole position by Elford but retired with engine failure after 18 hours, and the Martini 917L finished second, 5 laps behind the winning Salzburg 917K of Hans Hermann and Richard Atwood. Now we got the 1971 917 16 cylinder. So this could be interesting. Here we go. In an effort to keep up with other more powerful cars in the Can-Am Championship, a 6.6 liter, 739 horsepower, flat 16 engine prototype was developed. It was tested in the original 917 PA chassis with the wheelbase extended by 270 millimeters to take the longer engine. Although more powerful than the flat 12, it was also 80 kilos heavier. Porsche decided that turbocharging the flat 12 would be more profitable, and the flat 16 was shelved. Now we got the 1971 917K. The 917K was further developed for the 1971 season, and the car had vertical fins and 2 airboxes on the tail section for better aerodynamics and cooling. The fins retained the airflow of the rear part of the bodywork, allowing the deck height to be reduced for a given level of downforce. As a result, the finned 1971 917 917Ks were faster than the 1970 versions and proved just as successful, winning 7 of the 11 WSC races. A version of this model with a lightweight magnesium chassis won the 1971 24 Hours of Le Mans. Speaking of 1971, we're still on this anyway, with the 1971 917 LH. The 1971 model was a further development of the 1970 917L and was also made specifically to compete in the only one race, the 1971 24 Hours of Le Mans. The car was also more stable than its 1970 predecessor because of a revised suspension setup, and new bodywork was partially enclosed because of a revised suspension setup and new bodywork with partially enclosed rear wheel covers and a redesigned front section. 2 were run by JW Automotive and 1 by the Martini International team. I might talk about Martini Racing one day. I don't know when, but at some point I'll give it a try. I don't know. I don't really know. 2 were run by JW Automotive, and 1 by the Martini International team. Although Jackie Oliver qualified one of the JW 917 LHs on pole position, none of the 3 cars finished the race. So presumably like they might have crashed or they just, I don't know, caught fire or something. I don't know. But this has happened before. Like I've seen like videos of like cars these days catching fire, mainly like which are like, you know, sometimes GT40s, sometimes like Ferraris. Anyways, now we're on the 1971 917 Interserie Spider. 3 Porsche 917 Spiders were built for use in the German Interserie Championship, rebuilt from 917s that had being like either crashed or otherwise written off. These cars were very successful, winning the 1971 Inter-Series, winning the 1971 Inter-Series Championship. Now on the 1971 917/10. The 917/10 was built for Can-Am racing with a 5-liter engine, new bodywork. So 5-liter engine, new bodywork, and weight pared to a minimum. It was run in the latter part of the 1971 Can-Am season by Joe Siffert with moderately successful results. Now we got the 1971 917/20. The 917/20 was a one-off experimental R&D car, which is a research and development car. It was made as an intermediate car to combine the low drag of the Langkek and the stability of the Kurz, and was also a test bed for future Can-Am parts and aerodynamic low drag concepts. It was only raced once at the 1971 24 Hours of Le Mans, where it was entered by the Martini International team and driven by Reinhold Joest and Wilbert Kausen, known as the Pink Pig for its broad proportions. It was given the pink livery with names of meat cuts running over the bodywork. Although it qualified 7th and ran as high as 3rd, it retired from the race after an accident caused by brake failure at Arnage while Joest was driving. Now we got the 1972 917/10. The revised 9 the revised so we got the 1972 19 so we got the 1972 917 slash 917/10. The revised 917/10 was Porsche's first full-scale attempt at Can-Am for 1972. This car ran the 5-liter flat 12 and was modified to accommodate additional compression. 2 turbochargers were added to give the car tremendous horsepower. George Fulmer won the championship. George Fulmer won the championship in the Roger Penske car. So George Fulmer is an American former auto racing driver and one of the most successful road racers of the 1970s. He was born in Phoenix, Arizona. His family moved to California when he was just an infant. It is true. His full name is George Richard Fulmer. So he won the championship in the Roger Penske car. Now we got the 1973 917/30. The 917/30, the final official iteration of the 917, is one of the most powerful sports race cars to have ever existed. The car had all new bodywork, and the twin turbocharged engine was bored out to 5.4 liters, giving it between 1100 to a monstrous 1580. Rounded up was like 1600 horsepower. Rounded up was like 1600 horsepower. Depending on the state of tune, these cars dominated Can-Am racing to such an extent that the series lost popularity in the US. A total of 6 chassis were built. And next up is racing history. So I figured I'm gonna take a break right now. So I'll do racing history for the next video because it's just gonna take forever. So I'll do it for part 2 of the Porsche 917. So if you guys like part 1 for this one, like it, subscribe. So like the video, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think, hit the notification bell, and hit all so you're alerted of when I make new uploads. Alright, so this is where I'll be at. So this is the racing history for the Porsche 917. So yeah, racing history is what I'm on next. So I'll do that for my next one. So if you guys like this video, like it. Be sure to like it, subscribe. Like it, subscribe, comment down below what you guys think. Hit the notification bell and hit all so you are alerted of when I make new uploads. All right, I gotta get going now. I'll see you guys soon in the next video. But until then, stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Take care, folks. Bye bye.